You're talented, you're experienced, you're skilled, you have been in the game for 10, 15 plus years, and you've decided finally to bet on yourself. But one question still looms. What kind of consulting business should I start? What kind of consulting skills do I have? And most importantly, what kind of consulting stuff are people out there paying for? I get it. Maybe you've got multiple ideas, but you're not sure which one actually makes money, and you just aren't sure which direction to go in. Well, in this video, I am walking you through how to find your consulting sweet spot, that intersection of your skills, your talent, your love, and what the market will pay for. And if you're really serious about starting your business and want all the steps to getting it started, make sure that you check out my Scratch to Freedom Framework training. It is an absolutely free training. It's about 45 minutes to an hour long because I walk you through all of the steps in order of actually starting your consulting business. We talk about how to create a transition plan so you can work while you get this business started. And we also dive into how to get your first few clients, because those are the three biggest questions that I get. So the link for that will be in the description below, or you can go to CherylCperez.com/scratch to freedom. Check it out, look at the training, go through it. It's going to be so helpful. It's going to give you so much information, and let's get to work. Okay, so let's start with the first real problem, and that is not that you don't have an idea, but that you probably have too many ideas and not enough clarity. This is absolutely normal. Please give yourself some grace. Do not allow it to send you into a panic or a complete state of overwhelm like I see it do so many times. And it's totally natural. You're multi-talented. You probably have done tons of different jobs over the years, especially in your corporate career. And you've probably done all of those different jobs a lot. So with doing things a lot, you develop all kinds of skills. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to coachees or students or people who are aspiring consultants, and they've said, well, you know, I'm really, really good at this. I did this for 5 years. I did this for 3 years. I did this for 2 years. I can really do all of it. And so that, in essence, usually generates a lot of ideas around what you can actually become an expert in and what you can, most importantly, market your services as being an expert in, which brings you to the too many idea zone. And when you're in the too many idea zone, it really does prevent you from being able to focus, and it really does create a lot of stress and overwhelm in most folks. And what I want to tell you is that it is awesome that you have so many ideas, and we want to start with those ideas. But the goal is to find the sweet spot. And when I talk about the consulting sweet spot, it is where what you know, what you love, and what the market will pay for all intersect. And that means we've got to get some clarity around several things to pare that list down to ultimately come up with one. Because yes, there are niches in consulting that exist. There are specific types of industries in consulting that exist. There are sub niches that exist in consulting. And the goal is for you to find the one that feels the most natural, is going to be the easiest for you to slide right into, and most importantly, the one that you can deliver the most value. So that, when you find that one idea, that one to kind of get started with, it's really what helps you build a consulting business that is profitable and scalable. And so I'm going to tell you right now that we've got to pick one. Yes, we've got to pick one. We've got to pick one general consulting idea and business idea and niche. And then inside of that one, later on, we can slowly build out different lines of business. And people oftentimes get lines of business and business ideas confused. So let me break down for you what this means. A line of business is a product or service that you are offering inside of your business. So a line of business for me is consulting work. And I do inside of consulting, I have multiple lines of business. I do operational consulting. I still do some HR only types of consulting. I do full strategic planning and nonprofit consulting. Those are all lines of business underneath my consulting line of business. Then I also do business coaching. And inside of business coaching, I do coaching programs, Gooch coaching programs, masterminds, and then I also have a membership that includes, online digital courses and things like that. And so that's a different line of business, right? And then I also will do my online digital courses as its own line of business. And so even though I've got multiple lines of business, that doesn't mean that I don't have one business idea. And that's generally that I am a coach and a consultant, and I work with small businesses and entrepreneurs and nonprofit organizations and helping them start and scale their organizations, right? Through structures, strategies, systems, processes, and squads. That is what I do. So I've got one business with multiple lines of business, and that is ultimately where you need to end up as well. So what I want to do and get started with is how you're going to find this sweet spot. And I like to call it the sweet spot method because it's really important. So the first thing that you're going to do is really kind of list out your strengths and your skills. And I get into this really in depth in my Consulting Startup Builders Club because it kind of walks you through how to really uncover that passion and profit and come up with the perfect idea. But really quickly, a simple way to do it is just to list out your strengths and skills. And you're going to go through those lists of strengths. You're going to talk about what you were known for in your corporate career or in your life experience. Where do people come? What do people come to you for all the time? What do people say? What naturally comes out when you're in a conversation with someone that really feels like you're in a flow when you're doing it? And which problems are you really, really good at solving? Like that is kind of the key to starting a business because ultimately businesses are designed to solve the problems. Once you get your list, your strengths and your skills spelled out, you want to move on to step 2, which is figuring out of all of those skills and strengths. And I want you to do the skills and strengths list without any bias, right? Not even thinking about it, just writing them all out. Once you get to that, then step 2 is to go through those skills and strengths and identify what you actually enjoy doing. Yes, what you enjoy doing. That is so important. And it wasn't something that I did when I started my first consulting business, even though I did end up really enjoying what I was doing. I just really said, all right, I'm good at this and I'm going to do this. And then ultimately 4 or 5 years later into it, I decided that I hated it and didn't want to keep doing it and just kind of branched out a little bit more because I was kind of stuck in this bucket. And oftentimes I'll see folks who just kind of go with a consulting business without even really going through these steps of finding their sweet spot. They end up in a couple of years changing their entire line of business or ultimately looking at me and saying, I was pigeonholed into a certain service. I don't want to be in that service anymore. How and can you help me get out? And so that is because they really didn't do step 2, right? Go through the skills and the strengths that they determined and figure out what they love to do. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should be doing it. You want to make sure that you've got energy when you are working, that you can, kind of get into the flow when you're working. When you're building something from scratch, it's going to be ebbs and flows involved. And the last thing you want to do is just create another horrible 9-to-5 job for yourself that you can't stand and want to get out of. So ask yourself when you're looking at your skills and your talents, would I want to do this 3 years from now? Would I want to do this 3 years from now? It is a very important question to ask yourself. If the answer is no, probably not, then that is not what we're going to do. So now that you figured out what you enjoy and looking at your skills and your talents, we've probably narrowed down the list even more from all of those ideas, which is great. Once you've done that, I want you to move on to step number 3. And again, I do walk through all of this in depth in my Scratch to Freedom roadmap. So if you want more, if you want to go more into detail, way more time than I have here on CPTV, make sure that you check out the Scratch to Freedom roadmap training. It's absolutely free. You can get instant access. Link is in the description below. But step number 3 is going to be, all right, now I've got this list that I've narrowed down from just the original skills to researching what the market is actually paying for. And this is where you've got to dive in to market research and competitor research. This is really important. I see a lot of folks who start businesses without successfully doing this step. And they start their businesses based off of a ton of assumptions. And It's the worst thing you can do, because if you don't have complete clarity around what's happening in your market, it is very difficult to move into creating packages and products, and to creating pricing, and to knowing where you stand, and to knowing what processes are out there, and to even knowing what technology tools you need. And so researching your market and your competitive situation is really going to give you more insight into what people are paying for. And that's key. You've got to validate those ideas in the market. And validating them means there's other people out there doing it. I've got proof that people are paying for it. I've done research that shows that there's a need for it, that people are actually, it's a growing need for it. So really spend some time to dive into this step and, go through finding out what you can, getting as much information as possible, and then analyzing it against that list, that shorter list that we were able to create from steps 1 and 2. And once you've completed step number 3, then it is time to move on to step number 4. And that is connecting all the dots. Yes. Once you've done the first 3 steps, each time you will probably be narrowing down that original list of many ideas over and over and over again. Yes, you will. Trust me. I do it all the time with folks. So you may have started with 10 ideas. You went through what you really liked and ended up with 5 ideas. Then you did some market research and ended up with like 3 ideas. And now it is time to kind of connect all of those dots. And so I used to do this and actually encourage all of my coachees to do this. And it's a really simple exercise. Okay. You're going to connect the dots. So this is where your profitable consulting business actually lives. Number 1, I want you to circle all the skills that match what you enjoy, and then highlight the ones that people already pay for, and then choose the top 1 or 2. In all of those things. If you've ended up with 3, choose the top 1 or 2. And this is where you kind of get into when you're cleaning out your closet. You should have 3 piles, right? A pile that you're donating, a pile that you would keep if you could, and then a pile that you absolutely love and have to move forward in. And once you get it down to these 3 piles, these 3 options, then I need you to really look at those options and do a gut check. Right? What of these types of businesses really lights you up? Which one can you speak confidently about? Which one is there a demand for? And which one of these most closely matches what your lifestyle goals are if you deliver the service? That is the last piece. Which of your 3 ideas meet your lifestyle goals? And when I say your lifestyle goals, I mean, if you want to travel, if you want to be kind of a working nomad and work from all over the world and be able to serve clients and do things for people from Bali. I want to go to Bali for a month. I've always dreamed of living in Thailand for a month. I want to, travel to South America for a month. I want to, visit Asia. I'm at this, jump up and travel stage in my life and want to have as much freedom in my movement and where I am as possible. Then look at those ideas, and from your market research, you should know what it takes to deliver the services in those ideas. Which one of those ideas really more closely matches your lifestyle goals? Because some of them are going to match your lifestyle goals less than others. For instance, me, operations consultant. The type of operations consulting that I did in the very beginning was very closely related to me needing to be on site at clients' offices and facilities often. And that meant that I was going to have restrictions in my movement. I wasn't going to be able to just on a whim find a great flight and get on a plane and get there because I knew I could work from a different country. That was not in the realm of the types of consulting services that I was offering. But that was okay at that point in my life because I also had children that were in school and just jumping on a plane wasn't really an option for me. As now I've gotten closer to empty nesting, as you guys know, my last baby will be graduating in a couple of years. I am definitely 100% switching my lines of business and adjusting them and getting rid of some of those that are going to be more restrictive to my lifestyle goals, which is being able to find a good flight flight, jumping on a plane, and working from a different country for a period of time. That's the type of example that I want you to utilize, because the lifestyle goal, the lifestyle desire, the freedom in movement, the freedom in time is going to be that final piece that will help you find the sweet spot. And that is something that you have to consider. So looking at your top 3 or your top 2, if that's what you get it down to, which one of them most closely matches with your ability to live a life of freedom, right? Live a life of freedom. Time freedom, space freedom, movement freedom, obviously financial freedom. Which one matches that? And once you find that one, that's the sweet spot, my love. You have hit pay dirt and found your gold. Listen, my love, having too many ideas is definitely a blessing, but it can eventually become a curse for sure. You don't need to have the perfect idea. You just need to have a profitable one, and something that you can ultimately grow with, something that you can build from, something that you can sell, and something that makes you happy and puts you in your state of flow. And that is where your sweet spot will be. So if you are ready to take the next step, go even deeper, and get the rest of the steps that it's going to take in order to get this consulting business off the ground, up and running, and into you making money and living a life of freedom, don't forget to check out the Scratch to Freedom Roadmap training. It's absolutely free, walks you through all the steps. I made it for you. In it, I walk you through the entire roadmap of starting from scratch and getting clarity all the way to launching to freedom. I hope you enjoy it. And until next time, my loves, I will see you really, really soon. Bye-bye. Mwah!